I, like most of the internet, am a fan of Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is a liberal. Jon Stewart and I probably agree on very little when it comes to social policy, but we definitely agree when it comes to supporting first responders, supporting firefighters, cops. Jon Stewart is a New Yorker. He loves that city. He's probably very, very sad to see it in decline. He also calls balls and strikes. It's been very nice to see Jon Stewart going out and hitting the left as much as he hits the right. He obviously, much like many comedians, it's in his contract to go after the right and to go after Republicans. But he's one of the very few people that actually goes after the left. He went after CNN directly to their face for their Trump obsession, for the like sociopathic obsession with Donald Trump, but also with just making bad guys of people, right? Saying this person's good, this person's bad, and not being objective. It's a beautiful thing to see. Watch.
You were talking a second ago about identifying the weak points in the guardrails of democracy. It's also obvious, and I know you've spoken about this in the past, that Donald Trump has also identified those weak points. He is now endorsing candidates for Secretary of State in battleground states, candidates who are all in on the big lie in Arizona.
I think we make a mistake focusing this all on Donald Trump as though he's, I don't know, Magneto and some incredible supervillain that has changed the very nature and temperature of the United States. Like, he's just been an effective vessel. But again, like, he's not singing new songs. This is something he's maybe singing them a little better than, Goldwater. But I think it's a mistake to focus it all on this one individual and not to focus it more on, the idea that power is its own reward, whether it be in the financial industry or in government. Like, power doesn't seed itself. And unless we can figure out a better way to balance that power for workers and voters and different groups, we'll be vulnerable. I don't know that autocracy is purely the domain of Donald Trump. I think that we all have a bit of a tendency to be like, to grant amnesty to people that are doing things that we would prefer.
Just to stop there for a moment, what a incredible answer. What a thoughtful answer. This is the answer that comes with age and wisdom, and the understanding that there really is, like, the old biblical truth that there is nothing new under the sun, that everything that's old is new again, and that the only real power in this country is institutional power. That's the power that Donald Trump sought to uproot. That's why CNN hates him, because CNN used to be an institutional power. And when you lose power, whether that be financially, whether that be politically, the people who are obsessed with power, not populism, because populism is what Jon Stewart just talked about there, giving power back to the people, giving power back to the voters, giving power back to the workers. Did you hear him say that? Like, he wants people to be in control of their own democracy. The problem is that right now, a handful of media companies, multinational corporations, and the pharmaceutical companies and healthcare institutions are all in control and colluding with big tech in order to control our democracy, in order to control who gets elected and how they get elected. And it's exactly why you saw so many voter laws change this time around. It's why you saw so much influence by big tech on our national narrative, with the Hunter Biden story all the way down to the way that votes are counted. You saw big tech, big corporations, and big media influencing the results of the election and fabricating, quite frankly, a campaign. There was no Biden campaign. There was no Kamala Harris campaign. These people are complete frauds, totally illegitimate, and their entire administration is collapsing because of that illegitimacy. Their entire administration is collapsing because they didn't actually run and gain the support of the people. They didn't actually run and win over human beings. They were installed. It's a regime. And they're installed through a fraudulent system. They didn't. Joe Biden never left his basement. And they were just placed in there as as placeholders so that the powerful people, the actual powerful people who propped them up and put them in office could maintain power, couldn't re-grab some of the power that was, I don't think even taken away from them under Trump, was just threatened under Trump, or Trump made a joke about them and hurt their feelings. That's what you see there in Jake Tapper's face. You see Jake Tapper's face right there. That's the pain you see in his face. Look at that. Look at that expression. That's not the answer I wanted. Oh, no. Because Jon Stewart sounds like a populist. Jon Stewart sounds like not a corporatist, a populist. And Jake Tapper is like the corporatist's corporatist. Jake Tapper, of course, worked on the Capitol Hill for Democrats and messaging. Jake Tapper dated Monica Lewinsky. Jake Tapper is a fraud himself, and a toady and a total corporate lackey for CNN. This is precisely why he's so repulsed that Jon Stewart is straight up saying the truth here, and the truth being that the only real language in this country is power, and the only way to keep it and maintain it, that's the obsession with the establishment. The obsession with the establishment, of which CNN is a part of which Jake Tapper is a part of, is the maintenance of their own power, the maintaining of their own power, the monopolizing of what they have, and the keeping of it. And Jon Stewart saying, let's see, Donald Trump isn't really the problem here. It's these systems of power that are the problem. Donald Trump disrupted them, and that's why you hate him. That's why you see that pained, tortured expression on Jake Tapper's face.
Even if that means that they're slightly undemocratic. There's many times where I think to myself, like, just do an executive order, for God's sake, just get it done. So I think our focus unhealthily on this one individual comes at the price of systems and dynamics that have been in place long before this cat ever learned how to surf those waves.
I think that what's going on is, it turns out, and we've learned a lot of this in recent decades, but especially maybe the last 4 or 5 years, because Donald Trump was so disruptive and so willing to challenge norms, we've learned that a lot of the American system is built on the honor system. And that only works, of course, if you care about or even have a sense of honor. And I know that you're not so much concerned about an autocracy taking root as you are in the minority party figuring out how to rule despite the fact that they do not enjoy majority support.
Well, I think there's always been the danger that a minority of voices would have a majority of power. I mean, in a lot of ways, that's baked into the way that the system was created and enacted. And I just think in general, coming up with remedies to that have proven to be really difficult, because the larger issues is, we've elevated money and corporate power to this one level. We've diminished sort of pure democratic power to another level, and we're wildly out of balance. That's an awfully Oprah-esque way of putting the threat to the republic. But Jake, we're irregular. I think we're irregular right now. We need democratic fiber to help ourselves.
So
good for Jon Stewart. Good for Jon Stewart. And they both kind of lost me in this whole, like, the minority taking control of the majority. What the hell are they talking about? Have they ever heard of the Senate? Have they ever heard of checks and balances? Of course there are supposed to be voices for minorities in this country. Of course the minority can act as the majority. They cheered for that for the first 2 years of Donald Trump's entire presidency. The minority, the people with no institutional power or some institutional power, but not as much as they wanted. They thought they'd have the presidency, the House, and the Senate. They had none of those things going into 2016. They flexed their minority representation inside of our Congress through their media, through their corporations, through the DOJ, which was just so compromised. It was irredeemable. The DOJ using the Steele dossier in order to launch investigation after investigation, put people away, launch the entire Trump-Russia Mueller probe. just a charade and a laughing stock for years, but they acted like a majority, even though they were in the minority, something Republicans could really take a lesson on. But that's the way that systems work. It's the way that power works. So it's them utilizing their power, the power that Democrats had, which is the control of the media, control of multinational corporations, control of major cultural levers and institutions, in order to flex their power as the minority because they didn't have control of the Senate, the House, or the presidency in 2016. So what the hell is this jackass talking about? Like, that's precisely what you did, homie. That's what you did. That's what CNN was a part of. That was the purpose of Jim Acosta in the White House, was in order to like clang the cymbals and say, hey, look over here, look over here. We can distract you, right? And so here is what we're looking forward to, going forward, is more interviews like this. Because here you see Jon Stewart saying that corporate power far outstrips democratic power in this country. And we saw that in the 2020 election. Full balls to the wall, full steam ahead, spend as much money as you can, change as many laws as you can, do as much psyop as you can. The corporate media ran Joe Biden's campaign for him. And now, of course, you're starting to see the results, the decline and the deterioration of that system. And Jon Stewart here is effectively saying, screw you, CNN, with your disgusting obsession with Donald Trump. He's not the problem here. He, in fact, is simply singing from a songbook that's been sung from a lot. And you need to stop having a very uncomfortable obsession, sociopathic obsession with Donald Trump, and maybe start looking more at other corrupt systems inside of this country. And then you can see like the painful, tortured expression on Dick Tupper's face as Jon Stewart sort of spits fire there and asks for more of a direct democracy in this country, which is never necessarily designed to be. The Senate was supposed to elect the president, so on and so forth. But here's where we are. And I think every American can agree that when the systems are working and when legal votes are the only votes that are counted, well, that's a perfectly fine system. And Republicans take their losses, Democrats take their losses. But there's only one group of people that are interested in changing our systems of democracy forever in order to corrupt their power completely, and that is the corporate media. That is the corporations behind Jake Tapper there. That is them. He's their front man in this scenario, the palace eunuch, so to speak. And inside of course, obviously, the human centipede that is the DNC, as they shove the bile of their talking points through all those entities and try and stranglehold, try and choke out culture. I love that clip of Jon Stewart. I love this moment. He just wrecks CNN to their faces, and they didn't have a response. But Trump, losers. Thank you for watching. We are 100% independent news. Are you sick of being lied to? We certainly are. That's why we started this channel. But we can't do it without you. We can't keep going without your help. All we ask is that you click like and subscribe and share this video. It's free. And it keeps us going, it keeps us growing, and it keeps us getting the truth out there to break the rotted corporate media infrastructure that wants to lie to you every single day, wants to corrupt your narratives, your truth, your story, and your very society. So support us by clicking like, clicking subscribe, and thank you, Patriots.